Good day and welcome to this episode of Corporate Access with myself, Nastasia Arendse. This two-part episode will zone in on ICT solutions as technology develops and evolves at a rapid rate. However, at the speed that technology evolves, so does the associated risks. In today's episode, we take a look at the evolving digital landscape. The Internet of Things, or IoT, stands at the forefront of technological innovation, transforming industries and enhancing everyday life. As businesses and consumers increasingly rely on interconnected devices, the importance of robust IoT solutions are paramount. Joining me in studio today to understand this in more detail is Sudipto Moitra, who is the General Manager for ICT Solutions for MTN Business. Sudipto, thank you so much for your time. So, when we look at MTN Business IoT, how do you assist in that digital transformation journey, especially in areas like smart water, smart electricity, as well as fleet management?
Natasha, thank you very much for having me, and hello to all your viewers. I think it's a great question. When we are talking about digital transformation in the enterprise space, in the B2B, business-to-business area, Internet of Things is at the heart of it. And Internet of Things in today's day and age is providing, or bringing to bear such great converged technologies between information technology and operational technology. So when we are talking about digital transformation of the enterprise industries, across the different industries, Internet of Things particularly help, from all the way to the machine-to-machine connectivity, talking to each other, where we are looking at the whole application layer of the land with the cloud and the digital transformation. And at the end, looking at the data, which every company is trying to mine to make the most of it. So when we are talking about the digital transformation journey of businesses, it is quite pivotal that, the 4IR technologies, which is at the epitome, and it's very realistic to implement, we drive that. Particularly, in the three areas, if you talk utilities, the smart water, smart electricity, it's at the forefront of digital transformation, where we are looking at, how do we get a more operational, effective utilities organization, whether it's government, whether it's private sector. How do we look at the experience that the citizens are happening, through smart meters, smart electricity, and more importantly, how do we look at climate change, energy efficiencies, etc., through the different technologies of Internet of Things. Similarly, when we are talking about logistics as an industry vertical, the whole fleet management and the end-to-end value chain in the fleet management, from the road all the way to the cold storage, and how do we look at the life cycle of that industry. There is so many aspects of Internet of Things that helps us to bring to bear the transformation, the digital transformation in those industries.
I can imagine scalability is key to MTN Business IoT. So how do you support the companies expand their IoT deployments over time?
Yeah, scalability is a great question. I think before we look at how do we support the industries from a scalable solution, from a MTN enterprise business perspective, let's look at what are the different layers where scalability is relevant. As I mentioned, I think from an Internet of Things, you need to have the sensors, the devices, and the connectivity, which is the bedrock of Internet of Things. When we talk about the scalability, it's all about bringing a very matured platform that can monitor, that can service, that can be proactive in regards of providing the services for what is called the connectivity management platform. If you move up the stack, then you are talking about the devices, and devices in Internet of Things becomes very critical. Are they compatible? Are they efficient? What is the life? What is the asset life cycle of those devices? That becomes a very important element of scalability. Further up the stack from the devices, is the application layer, where we are looking at the scalability is determined based on, what are some of the API integrations that are possible, what are some of the, the hyperscaler cloud transformation on those application landscape that is relevant. And all of this from a scalability perspective also depends on security, which needs to be embedded in all the different elements. Supporting all of that, then when we start looking at the different IoT technologies, you have got the GSM technologies like the 5G, 4G. We still have got a lot of low power, IoT technologies like LoRaWAN, Sigfox, etc. Again, the scalability in that perspective looks at how do we have an architecture, that is easy to deploy. And finally, in any Internet of Things, it all comes down to the industry vertical solutions, for different industries that we spoke about. And the scalability is all about, how do we look at, the legacy to the modernization of the application underpinned by the data and the world of AI that we're living in, with the traditional data lakes all the way to AI, how do we stitch that together to have a very, very scalable outcomes for different enterprises?
With that said, what advice would you have for companies who are considering, IoT solutions in areas like smart electricity, fleet management, and perhaps they are unsure where to start?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when we start looking at the market, not just only in South Africa, but through the MTN Convert Solutions unit, we are catering to all the different opcos, that MTN is operating on the continent. Some of the common denominators that we see, when it comes to, the IoT solutions deployment, it goes back to the basic. The first of all, I think, if there is always a legacy environment in any enterprise. So how do we look at migration of that legacy enterprise into the modern environment? So that understanding that, planning that properly becomes very fundamental. Otherwise, we see there's a lot of false start. Then from there, we are also looking at understanding that, the budgets, because most of the IoT projects, they might be seeing sometimes they have got very good intent, but they might not have the right sponsorship from the business. Especially big IoT projects should be at the board level, at the exco level of big corporates. And that's why to have the right budget, becomes very important. And I think, some of the things that we're seeing to formulate the total cost of ownership and the ROI at different phases becomes very important. Thirdly, I think we also are seeing that, some of the solutions that when we are deploying, the end outcome is a little bit unknown. So we need to understand that what the business outcome and the business challenges that the company is trying to do, and then co-create those IoT solutions with the business. And this path of unknown needs a little bit of reverse engineering, to kind of knowing the end outcome, what are the things we need to do. And the co-creation and the agile methodology becomes very important. If we don't fail fast, some of these projects gets dragged and, the business doesn't see the benefit. So in summary, I think on the IT architecture becomes super critical, on the budgets and making sure the right sponsorship from the business becomes very important. And the third part is more around the agility, the co-creation, and the concept of failing fast becomes very relevant in some of the IoT executions in the different industry verticals.
There are always concerns around sustainability, and I'm sure over the years you've heard those concerns grow. How do MTN's IoT solutions contribute to energy as well as environmental efficiency?
Yeah, I think everything that we're doing in today's day and age, in my opinion, should be very much centered around, the energy efficiency. Climate change is something so important, and I think the contribution from all of us, towards solving this is critical. From an MTN IoT solution perspective, there are various ways in which we are looking in terms of contributing to the environmental and energy efficiencies. Number one, I think if you look at the technologies and the emerging technologies, the change in technologies that are having specifically, as you said, in the utility space, from a smart meter, smart electricity, there is a lot of energy consumption that's happening. Number two, I think the MTN solutions are also looking in terms of the leading edge, in terms of how to save, like if I look at the other industry verticals, like for example, effective building management solutions, or if you look at IoT solutions in the likes of manufacturing or agriculture, all of them is centered around, how do we save and conserve the energy. So that's the second area. The third, I think, contributing factor is around also the the MTN's own telco assets that we bring to bear. The telecommunication assets where the energy transformation and the energy conservation is at the heart of it. So our new age technologies and how we're building the networks around South Africa, around the globe, talks about some of the energy conservation. And and finally, I think it's all about like again, going back to the example of smart meters and smart electricity, smart water meters. It's all about, to have the real-time monitoring. And then what do you make out of the data? The effectiveness of the energy consumptions comes from, is that being implemented correctly, to make sure that we are saving the energy. Lastly, I think at MTN, the sustainability is something very core to us. Just in South Africa, we are, pushing very hard for a 0% carbon emission. And those are some of the plans that we're doing on ground that also contribute to the MTN IoT solutions that we're bringing to bear.
As we wrap up the conversation, with so many options in the market, why should businesses choose MTN Business for their IoT solutions?
Yeah, there are a lot of options. I think for us, as MTN being a telco, we come from what we call the telemetry side of the IoT business. This is the bread and butter for us. From a MTN IoT side, we have really transformed that environment. We have invested heavily on what we call the CMP, the connectivity management platform. So that is one thing that brings at the heart of all the connectivity elements of IoT for any client better. The second thing is, we don't want to reinvent the wheel in terms of the solution. So we rely heavily on a very strong partner ecosystem where we bring the different specializations, whether it's an OEM, whether it's a system integrator, it's a consulting house, or a niche industry vertical solution. Our entire strategy is built on working and co-creating with the partner. So us leveraging that partner ecosystem. And the third is, in our opinion, it's the flexibility, because for IoT, it's all about the co-creation, getting the use case and then commercializing. And for us, being the #1 brand on the African continent, we take a lot of pride to create the solutions, to create the products that are very specific to the requirements of Africa, of South Africa. And all of this, we don't have one shoe fits all for the client. And the commercial model that we are also trying to implement helps us to get the best value for money for our different clients.
Sudipto, thank you so much for your time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Unfortunately, this is where we'll have to park this conversation at the moment. A thank you to my guest, Sudipto Moitra, who is the General Manager for ICT Solutions for MTN Business, joining me in studio today. To our viewers, do tune in again for the second leg of this technological conversation on ICT Solutions. But until then, it's a goodbye for now.